aside.
Might be trap, might be treasure.
I will help where I can.
Wearing a robe? Check. Baphomet symbol around the neck? Check. Crazy eyes? Check. Note to self. Bring a mirror next time to be able to adjust the optimal level of eye craziness. Everything is ready for the experiment. An audience. Problematic, but not critical. You there, boy. Stay out of this. It is counterproductive to stand in the way of scientific progress.
Who's that? I don't know her.
Greetings, boys and girls. I am your sister in sin, a devotee of Lord Baphomet's dark will, and so on and so forth.
She looks like one of us, but she talks kinda weird. Who's there with you?
Who? Oh, them! Just an audience, they don't matter. Consider them a supplementary component of the coming experiment. The experiment was disrupted as a result of audience intervention. Now you're going to start hitting each other, aren't you? Please, proceed. I won't interrupt.
Death to Crusaders! We'll deal with that crazy one later!
aside.
Wearing a robe? Check. An audience? Problematic, but not critical. You there, boy.
Who's that? I don't know her.
Greetings, boys and girls.
She looks like one of us.
Who? Oh, them. Just an audience. They don't matter. Consider them a supplementary component of the coming experiment. In the name of our Lord Baphomet, please be so kind as to undertake a little test of your competency in our wicked cause. Let's start with something simple. So here's my first question. What is Lord Baphomet's favorite weapon?
We will not answer to you.
Our lord can wield any kind of weapon. He is all-powerful.
Wrong. He wields no weapons at all. He doesn't need any. He just gores his enemies with his horns.
These answers are wrong. The correct answer is Isergal, a glaive made of red adamantine. This experiment has taken quite a surprising turn. I would never have expected the followers of the great Baphomet to be baffled by such a simple question. Fine. Let's recalibrate the difficulty and proceed with the next question. Please name Lord Baphomet's sacred animal.
A bull! Of course, everybody knows that.
Yep, and a cow.
None of your answers were correct. The correct answer is an aurochs. It appears the experiment has yielded results which are as unexpected as they are incredible. Baphomet's cultists have not the slightest idea about who Baphomet really is, let alone any in-depth knowledge of his ideology or philosophy. I'm positive that this news will cause a sensation in widest scientific circles.
Damn it, she's right. I'm a shitty excuse for a cultist. And my mother used to tell me to become a plowman.
Hey, take it easy. We've only had 2 questions. You there, come on, ask another one. We'll get the next one.
The experiment was disrupted as a result of audience intervention. Now you're going to start hitting each other, aren't you?
Death to Crusaders!
I'll split you in half!
Excruciating.
You've crossed the wrong mongrel.
Cover me, all right?
Done with you.
Smear them. I don't like you!
Stab you or zap you? Why not both?
The result is statistically predictable, especially considering their intelligence level. What about you, boy? Are you ready to answer some questions for the good of science? Let's proceed with the experiment. My first question is simple. Which colors does the goddess Iomedae prefer? Well, that's your right. The experiment has come to a standstill due to the subject's refusal to cooperate. It seems to me that I owe you an explanation. My name is Nenio. I am an explorer, a pilgrim, a yet-to-be-recognized scientific luminary, future author of the great Encyclopedia Galarianica, and rector of all Absalom's universities at once. Future rector, I should say. I also know several spells. It is so heartening to see you strive for knowledge. I have been conducting an experiment comparing the intellectual abilities of the average cultist with those of the average crusader. Unfortunately, the experiment has proven that the opposing parties possess approximately equal faculties in this regard. A shame, indeed, for I have always claimed that despite the popular beliefs about the limited intellectual abilities of those in the army, at least some of them can be considered educated. It appears I was mistaken. Unable to deal with the questions, the Crusader decides to deal with the examiner instead. A typical reaction for a person who has never been burdened with any intelligence. Yes. Do you wish to become my follower? To accompany me on my expeditions to the World Wound? To assist me in my experiments? To run errands for me? Perhaps even to write down my deepest thoughts for the benefit of future generations? Oh, how splendid! Of course, I agree. Truth be told, I have no money to pay you. But you will be aiding the progress of science, and that is its own reward. Excellent, you're hired. To think that I finally found someone to accompany me. 27 Crusaders before you said no. Not one of them saw the undeniable appeal of my offer. Your first assignment is to take me to a safe place. I have to admit that today's experiment has left me quite tired.
Make way!
break against our resolve.
I'll cut you wide open.
Distract them from me.
How much longer, I wonder? Follow me! Or don't.
My tail is restless.
What's on your mind? I wonder.
You are my favorite aide.
Move aside.
I'll watch your back.
Always be ready for the worst.
Oh, yes, what?
I appreciate privacy.
Are we in trouble yet?
I will help where I can. The light, take you!
Time to share your treasures!
I'll split you in half!
Cover me, all right?
No reason to pause.
You've crossed the wrong mongrel.
This is how it feels.
Cover me, all right? Cover me, all right?
Good today.
You've crossed the wrong mongrel.
Smear.
Into the fray!
Stab you or zap you? Why not both?
open! The spirits demand your blood!
Smear them.
The wrong mongrel.
Cover me, all right?
I'll split you in half.
side.
Greetings, valiant stranger who has just burst into my life. I am the master of this house, Count Daron Kale, myriad mellifluous monikers Arendae. No need to introduce yourself. I find remembering insignificant details, such as the name of passing acquaintances, such a bore.
Wow. Bona fide blue bloods and unparalleled aristocracy. All this makes me itch to do something really crass. Ooh, like blow my nose on the curtains.
What are you waiting for, my squamous squire? The curtains in this room are velvet, but we have some excellent silk ones with gold thread elsewhere in the house. Take your pick. My soft furnishings are yours to do with as you wish. I'm quite sick of the place, truly. I shall either sell it or burn it to the ground and build a new mansion in its place. Now that we've finished with the niceties, tell me this. How did all those thrice-damned demons end up at my soiree? Canabris in ruins. Descari. Well, 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 and I was already lamenting the lack of excitement at my little banquet. Although it must have been tolerable enough if we didn't get notice of a great hulking demon attacking a dragon just outside the window. It seems as though Descari's occasion was altogether more of a crush than mine, if you will pardon the pun. Of course, where are my manners? There. You can also poke about the house and claim whatever takes your fancy. Though I imagine some of you already had that in mind.
I'm feeling very attacked right now.
As a child, I had my very own pony, but I always dreamed of having a lamb. I was never allowed one. Sheep were seen as peasant animals, utterly unsuitable for the scion of a noble line. The trauma haunts me to this day. I think of it every time I have roast lamb for dinner. I'm sorry if I failed to sate your curiosity. I loathe talking about myself to people I don't know, even more to those I do know. The only thing worth knowing, aside from the fact that I am highborn and filthy rich, is that I dislike Puritans and demons in equal measure. Well, perhaps demons a tad more. I thank you for the invitation, but I am not quite as desperate as I may seem. At times, it is better to be surrounded by the repugnant mugs of demons than the sour and dour physiognomies of Iomede's righteous paladins.
What about my physiognomy? Sour enough for his lordship? Don't worry, another few minutes with the dazzling count here, and it'll sour like week-old milk.
What's this? An attractive paladin with a sense of humor? You're a veritable walking scandal. Either way, my mansion is now safe. I have a pair of half-decent guards. I just need to drag them out of the storeroom and bring them to their senses. I ordered them to drink a love potion, you see? For reasons which seemed extremely witty at the time and in the state of inebriation I then found myself in. They can guard the house while the valorous paladins beat back the demon assault. They will beat them back, yes? As regards myself, I feel like stretching my legs. I know rudimentary divine spells, I am no friend to demons, and I elevate any society that I deign to grace with my presence. I shall accompany you, only for a short time, of course. I have no desire to remain at the vanguard for a protracted period. What say you, my ephemeral but highly diverting acquaintance? After all, Lord Descari spoiled my party. I now burn with the desire to spoil his.
I don't like this guy much at all. Not even because of his personality, but just... I sense something dark about him.
I guess thumping him one next time he comes out with more aristocratic witterings is not allowed? All the more reason to take him with us. If we don't kill him, the demons surely will.
Don't ask me. Having him tag along would be like going for a nighttime stroll through the back alleys with a diamond tiara on your head. Even I don't like that kind of attention.
The Count's presence can only benefit us. I think we should say yes.
What? You're asking about whether to take this boy with you? The question lies outside the bounds of my interest. By the way, did you know that the young scions of noble families often sponsor the research of young scientists? What laudable passion for knowledge. True, the size of their donations bears a direct correlation to the hazardousness of the experiment being conducted.
Capital. Good acquaintances that begin and end at just the right moment often leave the most pleasant memories. Wouldn't you say?
Thank you, stranger.
The young woman does not look the least bit scared, her cheeks are flushed and her blue eyes are glittering.
For saving us from the demons, and for your timely entrance. I swear, I don't know who has enraged me more today, the demons, or the oh-so-affable master of this house. I'm a bard. What else? I only arrived in Canavers recently. I'm touring the whole of Mendef and far beyond its borders to perform for my devoted fans.
The young woman clasps her hands together.
Ilks is alive. And he's made a brilliant new friend. It's a shame it had to happen now, when the city is under siege by the demons. And those pig-headed inquisitors are pursuing us instead of doing something useful. Hilrun's hounds found me and Wallflower and they tried to capture us. I distracted them, then I lost them in the streets before charming my way into this party. Even if the inquisitors saw where I went, they wouldn't have been allowed past the door. Hilrun holds no sway among certain members of the aristocracy. So I picked a good place to lie low, that is, until the demons showed up.
She shivers and wraps her arms around herself. Now that's more like it. So I have inadvertently been harboring a traitor wanted by the Canavers Inquisition? This day wasn't such a waste after all.
I'm Arendae, traveling bard and follower of Desna. Many of my fellow bards are rootless misfits who wander the world, unwilling or unable to live a normal life. For me, that's only partly true. I have a wonderful family, my mother, father, grandmother, and brother. Right now they are far away and I'm sure they miss me, but they have always supported me in my vocation and they let me be free to roam. Because they knew that I couldn't be happy while there was so much of the world I hadn't explored, and so many places where people might need my help. About the Count?
Her voice drops to a whisper.
I've wanted to smash a jug over his head about 5 times today already. He just brings that feeling out in people, it's one of his many talents. Other than that, well, you've probably already heard about the Arendae family. All I can say is that the Count's servants flee this place like rats from a sinking ship. No one ever stays here long, even though he pays them extravagantly. I even heard one servant complain that he always feels uneasy in the Count's home. Like someone is watching him. Unseen eyes staring at the back of his head, even if his back is to the wall, even if he turns around. I don't know if I believe all these tales, but I'm just telling you what I've heard.
Yeah, that's the word on the street too. The tiefling hunches his shoulders. This mansion, it's the tastiest morsel in the whole city, but all the thieves are afraid to even set foot in the street. Are you deliberately talking as if I'm not here? Excellent, like any polite host, I shall return the favor and act as if you're not here either.
Wallflower? No idea. If he knows about the demon attack, he won't just hide away, he'll go out and try to help people. If he doesn't know, well, you have no chance of finding him. He's a pretty skilled mage, but I doubt he'll risk using magic. He'll probably do something the Inquisitors won't expect. Pose as someone, disguise himself. We had a great selection of masquerade costumes in the temple.
She becomes lost in thought for a moment.
I know, I'll tie my shawl around your arm. Wallflower gave it to me. He'll spot it right away and know you're a friend. If I were you, I'd look for him in Canavers's Market Square. Good luck. May Desna be with you, stranger.
A success worthy of praise.
Make way!
Oh, the waiting's never fun.
aside. Make way!
A stocky knight with a head of messy black hair stands before you. His armor is spattered with blood. He greets you with a deep, booming voice. Ha, Crusaders. Excellent. I am Captain Caleb Sazimal, and these are my men. I am about to burn these vile backstabbers and heretics here, these pathetic imitators of the traitor Aureliu who tricked their way into the ranks of the Crusaders. The knight nods at a heap of severely beaten people and a strange elf whose appearance seems jarring for some unknown reason. Sazimal bellows threats at his prisoners, who seem to be in a state of deep shock and utter terror. A strange feeling rises up within you. It is pure instinct, you don't know what you're about to do, but you are certain that it is right. Demons showed up and carried everything off. I wasn't here to see it myself, I was fighting in the square. But these filthy traitors told me everything. My fists made them quite chatty.
So what? You tortured them. Do you think those methods are worthy of a crusader?
Under ordinary circumstances, no. But look around. The city is burning. Now is not the time for squeamishness. The warrior howls like a wild animal. Look around you. The city is in burning ruins, so many innocent lives lost, and all because of abominations like these here. Cultists, heretics, and spies, slipping into our ranks, carrying out the orders of their brutal masters and preparing a heinous death for us all. They want to give us over to the demons, just like Aureliu did with Sarkoris. They deserve to feel the flames licking at their legs. Caleb is talking too loudly, all while casting sidelong looks at you. You have seen similar behavioral quirks before, in liars. After carefully studying the Crusaders' armor, you can say with certainty that they aren't fakes. These men are real Crusaders. The words fly out of your mouth before you can even think them. Some gut instinct told you that this is precisely what needs to be said in this moment. And the words hit their target, the Crusaders jump in surprise and look at each other in terror. The corners of Duran's mouth are twitching, like he's struggling with all his might not to burst out laughing. Woljev glares menacingly at Caleb. Didn't you know, mortal? We're everywhere. Caleb leaps to attention and barks out. Sorry. Couldn't have known. We'll fix it right away, sir. An inexplicable feeling of rightness flows through you. You enjoy seeing the look of oafish terror on the faces of the Crusader and his lackeys when you rebuke them for their fecklessness. The Crusader's eyes bulge in fear as he barks out. Caleb Sazimal, former Knight of the Order of Everbright Crusaders, deserter. These two are my mates from playing cards, local fences for stolen goods. Reliable men. We set an ambush, and caught 4 Crusaders. We wish to join the ranks of the triumphant army of the World Wound.
I must admit that the rationality of this individual should be questioned and subjected to thorough study for the purposes of establishing the existence of said rationality.
What? Biting his lip, the bold cultist proudly thrusts out his chest. Thank you, sir. Foulsnout furrows his brow in a display of menace, trying to show his brutal determination to take on all the Crusader forces put together. Durin looks at you with amused curiosity and speaks in a soft voice. I do enjoy your sense of humor. It's quite fiery. There's plenty more where that came from, sir. I'll do everything you've ordered, and just as soon as those crusaders arrive, they'll be dead meat. I'll go make sure that we get make it another 2 barrels of alchemist's fire from the Grey Garrison storeroom. Things are going to burn right up in there.
How much longer, I wonder?
When they reached the cemetery hill, the rain was pouring. In spite of the weather and the priest's weak protests, Rhaegar had no intention of stopping. If his suspicions were correct, the evil that settled in the village many years ago had to be stopped as soon as possible. The local priest, whom Rhaegar and Mokara had approached for help in their quest, was alarmed that these strangers were accusing someone from his flock and decided to tag along so that he could defend the innocent, should the need arise. Ascending the broken stairs leading up to the ancient crypt atop the hill, Rhaegar quietly pulled out his blade and hid it under his soaked cloak. Once the two got to the hewn stone that served as a sacrificial altar, he spotted the gravedigger. Despite the late hour and the violent storm, he was digging a shallow grave. Before Rhaegar had the time to intervene, the priest, prompted by a desire to clear the hermit of suspicion, went straight toward the massive, misshapen figure. The gravedigger turned his head and, at the first sight of Rhaegar and Mokara, started moving with speed that didn't match his proportions. He leaped far forward and the shovel cut through the cold autumn air, striking the priest's head. Pieces of skull and bloody scraps spattered forth, and the gravedigger, letting out an unintelligible roar, lunged at the outsiders. Mokara, who had already raised her hands, froze in terror. The gravedigger's gaping mouth was filled with dozens of rows of sharp, needle-like teeth, and the sorceress's weakened mind was struck by a murky stream of abhorrent blasphemy in an otherworldly tongue. Rhaegar, however, had kept his composure. Dodging to the side, he slashed the corpulent body, as if cutting open a rotten, bloated shell. With a wet smack, the gravedigger's neck and chest burst open, revealing to the mortal eyes the beast's true form, one of a foul worm, whose sickening body was now gushing in coils out of the now useless human frame. The cemetery keeper was an abominable verm-like demon, created from the souls of despicable scum that, in life, used to defile graves and disturb the deceased in the vilest of ways. After rising from the bowels of the abyss and invading Golarion, he and his kind are always drawn to places that used to excite the minds and fantasies of their progenitors. In the knowledge that the best place to observe the effects of extraplanar energy entering our world is the region formerly known as Sarkoris, I immediately set off for that desolate land. Upon arriving in Mendef and making inquiries to find a guide who would agree to escort me to the lands bordering the world wound, I came up against an unexpected impediment. The local rangers and guides categorically refused to help me. Desna, however, smiled upon me, and led me to a local hunter. After 3 tankards of grog, he agreed to go with me to the world wound and show me the area. By the time he had sobered up, it was already too late to reconsider. we had passed the last cordons and had plunged deep into the forests of Sarkoris. Even thousands of miles away from the planar rift itself, an attentive observer can discern the anomalies brought about by the world wound, insignificant differences that become more and more pronounced the closer one gets. The first thing that struck me were the unnatural trees that looked as though they had all been sketched from a single exemplar. Then the quality of the air changed. It tasted different with every inhale, from sulfur to caramel, from acrid salt to spoiled herring. According to the almanacs I had consulted on my journey to Mendef, one of the first signs of the world wound's creation was towers of black smoke billowing up from the rift. The terrifying sight above the southern steppe and the tales of my guide confirmed that the effusions of ash and poisonous fumes continued to this day, although I did not expect the air there to taste like one was standing between a confectioner's and a crematorium. As we journeyed on, we encountered the remains of dead livestock, dogs, and even people. Some skeletons bore the marks of demon claws, while others had clearly expired of rather more original causes. We even came across 2 perfectly mummified corpses that looked as though they had turned to stone. Skirting around a sparse and foreboding forest, we came upon a plain that was bisected by a series of unnaturally uniform hills. I would have been only too happy to study said phenomenon, but, alas, after several paces my guide was hoisted up into the air and quite literally turned inside out. After shedding my blood-soaked frock coat and the encumbrance of my souvenirs collected along the way, I hastily withdrew.
Open your heart to me.
Who, me?
Follow me, or don't.
A blind elf stands before you. He looks extremely strange, his face wears its ears heavily, which is unusual for members of his race. Thinning gray hair, a ragged beard, sightless, milky eyes, pale, papery skin covered in age spots, a spine curved by the passage of time. This is not how elves typically age. The youth that graces the faces of elves even on their deathbed has totally abandoned this decrepit specimen.
That is an elf. with a beard. I guess the worst can be found even among the best. A bearded elf. How very intriguing. If you please, I would like to pluck out a hair of that phenomenon manifesting on your chin, in the interests of science, of course.
The old elf holds out his hand in your direction in the perennial gesture of the blind, greeting you with an unexpectedly strong and calm voice. Hello. I am Storyteller, and I wish to thank my rescuers. That is you, if I am not mistaken. The Storyteller is a mysterious elf traveler who arrived in Kenabers shortly before Deskari attacked. The strangest part about him is not his blindness, but the fact that he looks ancient, even though old age typically does not affect the appearance of elves. This enigmatic figure harbors many secrets. Storyteller. Ha. That's the first I've ever heard of a venerable old-timer like that having a street name. The Griffin stood in this library for decades, but only today did he take flight. Why? I do not know, but I am glad his ancient slumber came to an end. The elf smiles at his thoughts. He has a long story behind him, and yet the real tale is only just beginning today. No, I will not reveal his secrets. I think your paths will cross again, so you can ask him yourself. The old elf frowns. I prefer people to call me Storyteller. It very accurately describes the sphere of my occupations and interests. In most of the places I have been, I am known by that name. You have piqued my curiosity. A storyteller, are you a bard? If so, you should come perform at one of my parties, instead of knocking about in this dusty library. A bard? In some sense, yes, but not the type of bard that performs at festivities. I think your guests would lose their appetite after hearing my tales. What a shame. And I was so hoping to wheel you out for my guests. With your unusual appearance, you would have caused quite the scandal. But lugubrious bards are of no use to me. Half the bards in the city are the same, their repertoire is confined to the one about longing, the one that causes indigestion, and the one that's a complete waste of time. I mean, really, how is one supposed to host a party with that? The old elf responds with dignity and courtesy, but firmly. In thanks for my rescue, I of course will render you a service in turn, whatever it may be. However, at this moment, I wish to be somewhere safer than the present surroundings. My recent adventures have fatigued me greatly. I would be grateful if you could help me to a safe shelter of some kind. The stubborn set of the elf's mouth tells you that he won't change his mind. Typical. You do someone a good turn, and instead of saying thank you, they just ask for more help.
Go easy on the old elf. He's had a rough go of it.
Yeah, because we've had it so easy. In that case, I will remain here for now. Wandering the city while it's under attack by demons would be inadvisable for a blind person. Don't forget to take me with you when you're going to a safe place. The young man with aristocratic features wipes the sweat from his brow and gives you a courteous bow. Allow me to introduce myself, Brother Claim, at your service. Thank you for helping us. We thought we were doomed to perish. That statue was carved in old Sarkoris long before the demonic invasion. Everyone marveled at the beauty of its fine stonework, each feather was practically lifelike. They would say the griffin looked like it was about to spread its wings and take flight, but no one thought it would actually happen, of course. Believe me, I am just as surprised as you are. Having said that, I do have an inkling of an idea. The knight rubs his chin thoughtfully. There was a legend in Sarkoris that mentioned an ancient chieftain who could turn into a beast and who vanquished countless enemies, but one day he just vanished. It claimed he was sleeping somewhere but would wake up one day to save Sarkoris from a terrible fate. Everybody thought it was just a tall tale. Obviously, no shape-shifting chieftain showed up to stop the demonic horde. Perhaps the statue was that very same person slumbering in stone, waking up only now that a demon lord has come real close. He shrugs. Don't take my word for it, it's just a guess. I hope we get a chance to take a closer look at this griffin. That traitor met us at the door. He seemed a faithful and passionate crusader, and we didn't suspect a thing, until they attacked us from behind and knocked us out. We didn't expect such trickery. Most of our order brethren are dead, and we were desperate to believe that this man in armor was a fellow crusader, a comrade. While we were unconscious, they removed our armor and tossed us on the pyre of books. What macabre blasphemy. Ain't it always the way? You start to think you might be able to trust a fella, and boom, he goes and stabs you in the back.
But if you never trust anyone, then soon you will become a killer just like he'll run. That's hardly better, is it?
Pa. Don't start on that now. Fine, fine, you convinced me, you can trust people, but only one in every dozen, I'd say, and not for long even then. No. He calls himself the storyteller and he only recently arrived in Canobers. We often saw him in the library. He was interested in the writings about early Sarkoris and the era before that. It seems the traitor caught him in the library and decided to kill him along with the rest of us. The young man's voice drops to a polite murmur. Have you noticed that storyteller is a little odd? Even for Canobers, where you can meet the strangest people from the farthest corners of the globe among the Crusaders. Have you ever seen such a decrepit elf before? Not just old, but ancient, with a grey beard like that. Elves don't tend to grow beards, I thought. And they don't have wrinkles.
An elf with wrinkles and a beard. A detestable absurdity.
We are Crusaders of the Order of the Flaming Lance. Our order dedicates itself to the pursuit of hidden knowledge and magical methods of fighting the demons. We are searching for our leader, Sister Myamir the Scholar. She spent the last few weeks here, working day and night on some important research. When the demons attacked the city, we rushed here to find her, but it seems she left the city shortly before the attack began.
Myamir, I don't recall the name, which means her scholarly contribution cannot have been significant. And yet her actions do intrigue me. If the opportunity arises, I would like to find out what experiment she carried out.
None. She left in a hurry, without leaving any notes or orders. Why? I have no idea. The only thing that may serve as a clue is this book, the one she was studying. The knight holds out the leather-bound tome to you. Collection of ballads composed by a bard who fought in the Second Crusade. The first songs are brimming with swaggering optimism, but as the collection progresses, the texts grow darker and more obscure as the despair and madness slowly take possession of the bard's mind. Myamir has annotated one of the verses. Long dead fingers of blackest stone. The forbidden tree stretches out its branches to me. White pebbles dog my steps. 1,000 piercing eyes on hoar-frosted ground. The winter sun's rays caress the runes. Ancient symbols burn on hardened bark. Secrets crusted over with white lichen. And a white fog steals over my weary mind. In Myamir's handwriting, a note reads, Tree. Runes. Stone Book of the Druids of Old Sarkoris here? Stone books. The Druids of Old Sarkoris used sacred trees as books. They carved their secret knowledge on the bark. When the demons came, the Druids resorted to a dark ritual that turned the trees to stone and the Druids themselves into undead, doomed to guard their stone library grove forever. But that happened far from here, in the Stone Wilds. Is it possible that's where Myamir went? Or maybe she found one of those trees somewhere nearby? I don't know. The city still fights? Why, that's incredible news. We will go to our sanctuary guarded by our order brothers and sisters. We will bring them to the defender's heart. My mentor and training partners used to feel sorry for me. I had enough power to summon and hold a lesser imp at best. Would you call that real magic? Ha! But there's nothing a smart lad like me can't use to stake out his reputation and make his fortune. There's one particularly nasty sort of demons called abracandylus. They're made of the souls of vandals and destroyers of art. In demon form, they continue to do the same. When they see beautiful pictures and statues, they fly into a rage and desecrate them. I once overheard a conversation on the street between two art collectors. They couldn't decide whether they should patronize a young and promising artist or a famous maestro whose best days were behind him. So I made them an offer: how about we place the two paintings side by side, and I'll summon an Arendae look. Whichever painting it attacks first would naturally be the more beautiful. The key was to banish the demon in time, before it destroyed the painting, but that wasn't going to be a problem for me. The collectors agreed to run this experiment according to my plan. And thus my legacy began. 3 months later, not a single art event could do without me and my demon servant. We were invited to exhibition openings, appraisers' workshops, and auctions. The more the enraged the demon became, on seeing another carving or slapdash dog, the higher its price soared. And they paid me well for my appraisal. I often staged artist battles, in which the demon would choose which of two paintings it despised most, and the tickets sold like hotcakes. However, there was one unfortunate incident. A gnome and an elf came to me from Absalom, two young bright-eyed artists. They wanted to enter one of these battles, but they offered peculiar sculptures instead of paintings. The gnome had a huge pile of nibbled apples preserved by a spell. The elf had a watering can without any holes, which stood on a cart with one square wheel. This, as they explained to me, was modern art. It was, how did they put it, unconventive or some such thing. They claimed it was popular in Absalom, where the gnome and the elf were very famous unconventive artists. Well, my job is simple: to display, their works, gather an audience, and release my demon from its prison. And that's precisely what I did. But the Arendae look came out of his cage, looked at the apples, and at the watering can with the cart, and then looked at me like I was a complete idiot, turned around, and went back to its cage with an expression of utter disappointment. It was nearly an international scandal. I was so upset that I even returned the money for the appraisal to the gnome and the elf. But it's all right. My business still thrives, even without the Absalom clientele. Meanwhile, where are my more talented fellow apprentices? Half are still crouched over books learning what they can. The other half went off to those ridiculous crusades and perished. They never considered that demons can be used to make money, and a lot of it. I think I'll soon buy myself a little palace, and cover its walls with the works of all the most famous artists.
Move aside!
The demon lords whose names are known to mortals number no more than a few dozen. Far more numerous are those who aspire to that rank and their own abyssal realm, but who as yet are unable to make a bid for such power. There are hundreds, possibly thousands, of such demons, but their names are known only to experienced demonologists, and to those unhappy fools who decide to sell their souls to the abyss and fail even to find a worthy patron for their trouble. Time and time again, one of these weaker demons will secure a resounding victory, scale the heights, or should that be sink to the depths, of the demon hierarchy, already fancying themselves a demon lord, when they soon make a misstep and die an inglorious death. The fate of such a demon could serve as a lesson to the rest, but if demons possess the capacity to learn from their own, or others', mistakes, would they even be demons? No, a stubborn refusal to learn is one of the major flaws that distinguish the bedlam of the abyss from the well-ordered hierarchy of hell. The demoness Yagna, she of the sevenfold swarm, serves as an example of such a fall from disgrace. One of the many daughters of Lamishto, she possessed 7 bodies, 7 mortal women of the various races of Galarian, each with an ant's head, controlled by one hive mind. She commanded various insects, swarming, crawling creatures, with ants her especial preference. The author of these words witnessed the oath of obedience sworn by cultists of Yagna with his own eyes. The witless initiate was forced to meditate while sitting atop an anthill. However, the human sacrifices being carried out by this fool's brethren around the little town I was serving in at the time were far from amusing, it required no small effort to destroy the cultists, who had been summoning ravenous swarms and spreading madness in the name of their mistress. So what became of her? What fate befell Yagna? The particulars are unknown, but consensus holds that the mistress of the crawling swarm ran afoul of the master of the flying swarm, the far more powerful demon lord Deskari. Only Lamishto's intercession saved her daughter from death, but not from abasement and the loss of her powers. Consequently, most of her followers forsook for the cult of the Mother of Beasts. Today Yagna is worshipped by a handful of individuals who possess a stubborn predilection for sitting on anthills, and even to them she can grant only minor spells.
Make way!
By Arendae, Nerosian, Cruciform Cathedral Publishing House. Frowning, Lord Tresbot made a gesture for his people to halt. Everyone froze, no one dared to disobey his order, even one given with his eyes alone. Lord Tresbot loved to say that he could only win when his whip frightened his soldiers more than the demon's claws, and he succeeded like no other in enforcing discipline. The Lord approached what we took for a scarecrow from afar, left in the middle of the wasteland by an unknown farmer. Pricking it with his sword, the Lord made us a sign to approach. It was the body of a young crusader, a boy, not 20 years old. Horribly broken, disemboweled, with shards of bone sticking out and shreds of skin dangling in the wind. Horror watched us from the stake, eye sockets filled with worms. A contemptuous smirk crossed the Lord's face. "Coward," he said through his teeth. "Fled from the battle. The demons caught him and he surrendered without a fight. And here are his useless fellows." The Lord kicked an inconspicuous bump under his feet, and it rolled, revealing an open helmet's visor with greenish-gray mush inside, swarming with insects. We shivered and looked down, realizing the ground underneath our feet was a mix of shards of metal and pieces of flesh. "Cowards," the Lord said again. "Cowards and weaklings. They were doomed even before they approached the world wound. They should never have left their comfortable homes. What did they achieve? They delivered the demons a hot lunch, that's all. Let's go. While the slugs waste their useless lives, someone has to win this ridiculous war." Without turning away, or heeding the disgusting crunching sound underneath his feet, he strode forward. We hurried after him, trying not to step on anything that was until recently a part of someone's body.
I'm here. Where else would I be?
The old elf frowns as if he's listening closely to something, and then decisively turns his face to you. Oxifog Meteor Stalker, is it not? I recognized you from the sound of your footsteps. Please accept my sincere thanks once again. And, if I may, please don't rush. I will struggle to keep up with your young legs. The blind elf looks better than he did in your last encounter. His clothes are clean and his pale face has some color. The elf turns to you and listens closely. Is that you, my savior? I recognized your footsteps. Determined footsteps befitting a determined person. Allow me to thank you again for saving me. Please accept this humble gift as a token of my appreciation. The elf hands you a small black ring with 2 scarlet runes on it. Irabeth has explained why you were looking for me. I warned the authorities of Canobers that the local wardstone had been desecrated. They waved off my warning and paid for their inaction. I have examined many wardstones, but only in the one guarding Canobers did I sense a flaw, a spot of corruption inside. A vulnerability the demons will surely use. They are able to spread the blight inside the wardstone, corrupt it, and make it their weapon. It frightens me to think what it will be capable of. The wardstone must be destroyed. The storyteller chuckles. Yes, to a certain extent. But it is more of a gift. I can see the past. Stories that have happened. I touch an object, and shreds of its owner's memories are revealed to my mind. Their emotions, passions, and tragedies. I see visions like I am them, and their stories happen to me. This is my power. I've been roaming the world gathering such stories for many thousands of years. One day I will gather them all. The elf smiles faintly. I am the storyteller. Just an old elf, and a bit more. I am old even for an elf. I've seen many things and have been to many places. Not so long ago, I witnessed the making of a young kingdom in the Stolen Lands, led by a remarkable and promising individual. My advice on the complicated matter of conquering those lands proved useful to that leader. The Stolen Lands are an almost wholly unsettled region in the northeastern section of the River Kingdoms, bordering the nation of Brevoy and serving as a buffer between Brevoy and the River Kingdoms. Traditionally the haunt of bandits and monstrous humanoids, the Stolen Lands are regarded as stolen by all nations along their border, even though none have ever been able to keep these realms under their control for long. This is not uncommon for me. Some seek my advice or services, and I don't refuse. This is how I acquired my reputation as an old vagrant who's never hurt anyone, stayed out of others' squabbles, but sometimes gave good advice. I had a few friends in Nerosian who vouched for my integrity. This is why my humble request to be allowed to see the wardstones was granted. I visited all of them, but only found cause for alarm in Canobers. The capital of the Crusader state of Mendef, Nerosian is designed first and foremost as a defensive fortification to hold back the endless demonic hordes of the world wound. Nerosian is also a holy city of Iomity. Many of its notable residents are devout worshippers of Iomity, including Queen Gaffrey, the ruler of Mendef. The cruciform cathedral to Iomity is central to both Nerosian's physical structure and the defense of the city. The cathedral also draws faithful pilgrims from afar to worship at this renowned holy site. I'm afraid I don't have the answer to your question. To understand the nature of this blight, we need to understand how the wardstone was created. And it is hidden from me. I can only guess. Have you heard of the Red Morning Massacre? A dreadful morning remembered with fear even by those not yet born at the time. A demoness called Minago invaded the city with a crowd of her followers, and started to do what demons do best, kill and desecrate. They say they covered the ward stone with pieces of dead bodies, splashed it with blood from top to bottom. Could such an abomination darken the radiance of the gift of Iomade herself? The locals think this is impossible. But who knows? It was not the last attack. Many demon leaders brought their unholy forces here, even the terrifying Baylor Korumzadeh. Their attacks were rebuffed, but they still reached their target. I think this is when the seed of corruption was planted in the stone. It wouldn't have grown on its own, but Deskari himself has now come to take advantage of this weakness, to open the abscess that has been festering for years, unnoticed by the people of Canobers. And when the demon lord struck the blow, the weakened stone gave in. Now it's in demon hands, and nothing is stopping them from spreading the blight throughout the entire stone, and from it, to the other stones along the whole perimeter of the world wound. I tried to see their stories. The visions I had when I touched the ward stones were unclear. I saw hundreds, maybe thousands of different stories at the same time. They followed each other like flashes of lightning. It was impossible to separate them. I couldn't understand where one of them ended and the next began. In that case, you must make every possible effort to destroy the corruption. Unfortunately, I don't know where to get an instrument powerful enough to banish it from the ward stone. As far as I know, there is nothing like it in Canobers. But the demons might have something. I heard the dying roar of Arendae, the silver dragon, the protector of the city. At the same time, I felt a wave of unfamiliar power sweep over me from head to toe. I would advise you to go to where Arendae perished and search there for something. I'm sorry I can't be more specific. But intuition and a strange sense of rightness tell me to point you there. Of course. I make no secret of why I came to the library. I was looking for something. I was looking for a very old thing. Rumor has it, some ancient scroll or a book page about the times of Earthfall is held in Canobers. According to the legend, it describes the last days of the proud kingdom of Kyonin, later abandoned by the elves fleeing Golarion. I have a vague hope that the events described in it will shed some light on my past. Earthfall is the name given to the cataclysmic event in which a shower of meteorites impacted Golarion in -5293. It resulted in the destruction of the human empires of Thassalon and Aslant, which were consumed by earthquakes and massive tidal waves, and the creation of the Inner Sea. The cloud of dust thrown up by Earthfall's impact settled in Golarion's upper atmosphere and blotted out the sun for 1,000 years, creating the Age of Darkness. The storyteller shakes his head gloomily. Alas, no. But I found proof that the book I'm looking for is in Canobers. Or at least a part of it is. Thank you again for your help. The storyteller nods gratefully. I appreciate your offer. I have reason to believe that somewhere in Canobers there is a manuscript authored by an elf from Kyonin who witnessed Earthfall. The storyteller's voice suddenly breaks, and he stops for a moment. For personal reasons, I would like to examine it. But no matter how hard I try, I have failed to find it. Even in the Blackwing library I only found a mention that the manuscript exists and is held somewhere in the city. I assume it's stored at the Grey Garrison. They wouldn't let me into the archive when I visited. All those crusaders were nervous about the strange blind elf interested in their secrets. It's understandable, the crusade naturally made them a little paranoid. But now the Grey Garrison has fallen into the enemy's hands. I would be grateful if I could see the manuscript. The old elf permits himself a faint smile. I am not surprised. A strange, peculiar-looking elf with unusual powers who comes from afar and calls himself a collector of stories. Such things usually spark some interest. I will answer your questions. Searching for the truth about my real past has brought me here. I saw myself in other stories. In them I was called the elf in the tower. Now I'm looking for this tower, my tower, everywhere. I've been to many places, I've visited islands and deserts, but I haven't found it. There are very few uncharted territories on my map. The world wound is one of them. The storyteller shrugs. I've always got along well with things. I used to be a blacksmith, that I know for sure. I've always felt the essence of things. Their spirit. For as long as I can remember, I have always been able to feel the traces of memories and feelings left on things by their former owners. I don't know where this gift comes from. Maybe, having taken my sight, the gods granted me another sense. The same way a court philanderer collects his conquests. The way a healer has a personal cemetery of patients he failed to save. The way every person, including you, has a box of secret, most precious experiences deep down in their soul, that no one is allowed to touch. The world is not made of things or matter even. It's made of stories. They move from the past to the future, piercing our world at the point of here and now. They give meaning to everything, they are the meaning, and everything else is only the setting required for stories to exist. There is nothing more real and alive than a story. And anything real and alive can die or be destroyed. Distorted. Forgotten. But as long as I carry these stories with me, they will not be lost. This is why I don't often share my stories. By sharing one with you, I give you the right to tell it to others, to distort and embellish it advertently or inadvertently. How can I be sure you will keep its original purity? Stories travel from one person to another, they change, become distorted, turn into tall tales. This is why I keep my stories to myself. The blind man straightens his bony back with dignity. As you can see, we do if we manage to live for many thousands of years. There may not be a single mortal in this world older than me. The storyteller sighs and continues with a sad smile. Anyway, it's not about time. It's about the stories I keep inside. There is so much suffering and sadness in this world. And in my stories too. I've lived every one of them. I've drunk this bitter experience and accepted it in my heart. It's hard. The weight of all this suffering on my shoulders. But I wouldn't trade my burden for any other. Before, I would have said that I was a blacksmith from Kyonin who lost his sight and then found his true calling in a new craft, that of a story collector. But I have lately begun to suspect that those words are no more than a lie. The old elf chuckles sadly. It's quite the irony. I never thought I'd have cause to complain about my memory. It holds the stories of the entire world, but I've noticed more and more alarming signs recently. I encounter ancient stories and see myself in them. I don't remember those events. But stories cannot lie. So it means that my memory is lying. And I intend to get to the bottom of it. I'm looking for proof that my visions are true. And for the reason why my past has been hidden from me. That's what you think. In fact, the world is full of amazing things, and you still have a lot of questions. They just haven't bubbled up to the surface of your consciousness yet. I have examined many wardstones, but only in the one guarding Canobers did I sense a flaw, a spot of corruption inside. A vulnerability the demons will surely use. They are able to spread the blight inside the wardstone, corrupt it, and make it their weapon. It frightens me to think what it will be capable of. The wardstone must be destroyed. We must do all we can to cleanse this corruption. The storyteller reaches out and says softly. Even from here I can feel strange energies emanating from this object. If you don't mind, I will examine it, using my method. I will try to see the past of its owner, their emotions, and shreds of their memories. Maybe it'll help us better understand what we are dealing with. The storyteller touches the knife, his fingers clamping around the hilt with a hungry, masterful grip. His face contorts into an evil grimace, his voice disgustingly raspy. Hunger. My many legs bring me into the lair, to my mother's feasting hall. Her swollen body overfilled with food is so huge that I have to look at it with all of my eyes at once. On top is her scrawny little head with a long beak that is always yearning for more food. You feel feverish, and your chest, where the mysterious wound is concealed, feels hot. Your mind is flooded with a wave of visions. Visions that repeat the words of the old elf. Mother greets me with a placid screech. Stupid, greedy wretch, whose only achievement is my birth. A creeping, wingless creature. It's your fault I have no wings, a symbol of greatness, a birthright I should have received from my mighty father. Mother points me to a crowd of whimpering subjects, suggesting I fortify myself with their pathetic flesh. Not today. I summon my spawn and they fly to me, enveloping me in a teeming cloud. Like dark buzzing wings, they unfold behind my back and lift me up. Mother has always been stronger, but she did not expect this. I dive on her and rip her limp, bloated body with my claws. Itcher splatters, the bone spurs on my heel sink into her flesh. I clench her pitiful, tiny head and tear it off along with the shreds of meat. Victory. I am the strongest. I am the son of my winged father. The elf grimaces with distaste, his voice becomes normal again. Appalling, stories like that are the most difficult ones to keep with me. The storyteller opens his mouth to answer, but a sudden spasm crosses his face. A new vision, a much stronger one, engulfs the old elf. The malevolent undertones vanish from his voice as it grows more determined and tired. Even looking at the ward stone is difficult. Despite the corruption nesting in it, it still has an aura of strength. Your fingers clench the stone hilt so tight it hurts. A little spot on the flawless surface of the ward stone draws your attention. It looks like a butterfly. Corruption in the guise of something utterly harmless. But it will grow. You swing and stab the butterfly with the knife as hard as you can. Your fingers cramp painfully. A howl invades your ears. Light. White light everywhere. The stone knife falls from the old elf's hand. Out of breath, he drops to his knees. He is trembling, the terror on his face so unlike his usual dignified manner. What was that? That was not the past. That was something that is yet to happen. Or rather, might happen. One of the roads to the future. In one of the possible futures, this item will help you to cleanse the ward stone, or to destroy it. You feel a longing to take the stone chisel and plunge it into your chest, right into the wound that has opened up in it. It is hard to resist this feeling, but at the last moment your self-preservation instinct takes over, and you manage to keep control of your own hands. The old man stands up. He looks completely stunned. Never before has anything like this happened to me. But how? I am not an oracle or a prophet. Or, is this another riddle from the past that has caught up with me? I must find out. Seeing stories that have happened is one thing, but seeing stories that are yet to happen, I don't know why this is happening now, but there is one thing I'm sure of, this is not a coincidence. This is a sign of coming changes. Great changes. No. The future is not set. It used to be, a long time ago when the god Arendae guarded Galarian. But not now. Prophecies do not come true, or they do, but not the way they were supposed to. I only saw one version of the future, one of the paths leading to it. But the choice has not been made, and our destinies are not set in stone. I don't know. Obviously, I can. But nothing like this has ever happened to me before. The future never opened its secrets to me before I met you. Gods, who are you and why have our paths crossed? I feel this is not a coincidence. Something momentous is happening, destiny is pushing us towards something. But what? Questions without answers. I swear, this morning I couldn't have imagined what awaited me. This knife is a powerful artifact, but I feel that its power is of a different nature. No, I felt the same as I do when I tell the past. This is my gift, but manifested in a completely abnormal way. I don't know. Someone strong and desperate enough to resort to extreme measures. I felt that what I was doing had to be done. A few minutes ago, I would have agreed with you. But the thing that has just happened, it disturbs me. My gift has never manifested like this. Something has changed. And these changes frighten me. The storyteller nods politely. Let me touch them, and I'll tell you what I can see. The old elf carefully takes Yanil's sword, Radiance. Powerful forces lie dormant in this sword. It used to belong to an incredibly bright and daring soul. The storyteller's hand runs carefully over the scale that has still not lost its shine. Proud Arendae, protector of Canobers. You devoted your life to serving people. Your death is a great loss. But maybe I will be able to find out something about you that is unknown to your many admirers. The elf looks at you with unusual impatience. Shall we? Return with new stories. I will be waiting. I wish you interesting adventures.